Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Out and Equal 2017 Town Call Series. This is Isabel Porras, O&E University Director. Today, we will have a great call for you featuring Global Pride at SAP. Please note that this is a 1-hour broadcast audio call. Make sure you've turned on the speakers or headphones and turned your volume up. If you have any trouble signing in or hearing, please chat in so we can share a phone number for you to use. And of course, if you have any questions or comments during the call, please chat those in using the left-hand side to share those with our speakers. We will be recording this session, and it, along with the slide deck, will be available after the call. So I want to be brief and share some announcements. We have some great speakers lined up today. So thank you, first of all, to everyone who participated in Leadership Day and the Workplace Summit in Philadelphia. Please note that the 2017 trip report is now available online, and Summit speakers have also shared their workshop slide decks and handouts. Both the trip report and the slide decks are available on the 2017 Workplace Summit page on our website. Again, thank you for joining us for today's case study featuring Global Pride at SAP. Global and regional leaders from SAP's Employee Network Group are with us today to discuss best practices for establishing successful global networks, specifically around developing regional strategies and driving member engagement. And with that, I will turn it over to Chad Minnick, USA Regional Lead for Pride.
Perfect. Thank you. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today's call. My name is Chad Minnick. I'm a client marketing manager at Concur, an SAP company. I serve as the co-lead for Pride at SAP USA, and I also sit on the executive board for the Out and Equal Seattle affiliate out here just outside of Bellevue, Washington. And we're super excited to host the Out and Equal Workplace Summit in October 2018, so we're looking forward to seeing and welcoming you there. I'm pleased to introduce our panel of speakers for today's participating from across the globe, from the Philippines to Germany, from Brazil to Canada. We have an excellent round of colleagues of mine that are going to be talking about their experiences with Pride at SAP. First, I want to introduce Miguel Castro, Senior Director, Lead for Culture and Identity and Global Diversity and Inclusion Office at SAP. Miguel, can you please give us an introduction of SAP and the Global Diversity and Inclusion Office?
Of course, Chad. Thank you very much. I know that the feedback that we receive from Out and Equal is always like, please keep the presentation of the company a bit short and get into the topics of LGBT, but I think it's important to give just a little bit of background about who we are as a company. So if we go to the next slide, please. What I want to share in here is that SAP has been a trusted leader in business transformation for many years, 45 years in business, no less. There's a lot of numbers that I could throw in the conversation, like the 355,000 customers that we have all over the world, 21 research locations. We serve our customers in 25 industries, and we have more than 87,000 employees all over the world. If I could just focus on two specific numbers, the one that I like the most first is when we say 76% of the transaction revenue moving around the world every day passes through an SAP system. We're embedded in the systems and processes that keep the world running. And then also the companies managing 98 of the world's top 100 brands are SAP customers. They definitely see us as one of the trusted partners because of the strength, innovation, reliability that we bring to complement their businesses. We go to the next slide, please. Here we can see a little bit more about SAP's purpose, which is to help the world run better and improve people's lives. The promise that we have is to drive continuous innovation to help our customers run at their best. And when it comes to diversity and inclusion, the focus that we have globally, it's enabling people, processes, and technology to ensure a bias-free business. If we look at some key numbers in here, my favorite number is the one that we see on the top left side, which is 87% of SAP employees embrace workforce diversity. This number is the most important to me because when we look at our workforce, the absolute majority of our population likes the way that we drive the diversity and inclusion programs, and not only for the, let's say, diverse community within SAP. And this leads us to the next slide, which is the one in which I bring the message from our CEO. Bill McDermott says SAP wants to be the most open-minded and inclusive software company on the planet. Bill, under his leadership, is helping us all go in there. If you follow him online on social media, you could see what a true LGBT ally for the community is. Next slide, please. So in here where we show is all the pillars that we have, the work streams that we have for diversity and inclusion in the company. We go from gender intelligence, cross-generation intelligence, differently abled people, and cross-topics and enablement. What we have in the middle is the one that I lead globally, which is culture and identity. And under this area is where we have the support and cooperation with employee network groups, the focus on the topics of culture and ethnicity, okay, everything that has to do with race, intercultural intelligence, and so on. And then, of course, the cooperation with the LGBT community with a focus on its inclusion.
Perfect. Thank you, Miguel. Now, go ahead.
No, just checking you were online. Cool. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Miguel. To understand Pride at SAP today and into tomorrow, we need to understand our yesterday. So I'd like to introduce Bjorn Groneberg to provide a brief history of how we started.
Yeah, thanks, Jed. So I want to show you a short history about our network, and everything started in 2001. And interestingly, it started independent on the US side and also in Germany. In Germany, people just collected some LGBT locations or points of interest in their area, and they shared this in our internal network. And after having some discussions with colleagues from global communications, they were actually allowed to keep this information intranet, but they had to create a first LGBT business case, which is quite challenging at this point. It was quite challenging at this point in time, as you can imagine. On the other hand, in the US, we had a colleague, and she wants to have the domestic partner benefits for her partner, because this was a very common thing in SAP in the US to have it. And so she started also a network to establish this feature in SAP. And as you can see over the years, diversity, especially for LGBT topics, became more and more important for SAP. So we started to be listed on the CEI ranking with a, let's say, very poor rating of 43%, but over the years in 2010, we achieved a perfect score of 110, which includes our global gender transitioning guidelines, the domestic partner benefits, and also support of our ERGs in terms of LGBT. And we can have a view on the next decade if we move on to the next slide, because there I want to highlight one important thing. It's the It Gets Better project. And this idea of this project is that our employees share their very personal messages on a YouTube film. And this was in 2012. So the remarkable thing about this is that we had a colleague who unfortunately lost his 18-year-old son, committed suicide as a result of homophobic bullying this year. And he decided that he wanted to be part of this It Gets Better project to share his personal feelings and thoughts about the LGBT topic. With this video, we got lots of positive feedback from our friends and colleagues, and this shows that the network at this point in time was really established inside our company. In 2014, we regained another perfect score of 100% because we also added the health benefits for transitioning people in the US. So, and this scoring is also highlighted in our annual reports. In the last couple of years, in 2015 and 2017, I think we became a real international network. So we started to be part of Pride parades in San Francisco and Berlin in 2015. And as you can see here today, we are a network with over 8,000 members, and we have more than 15 local chapters worldwide who work for LGBT topics inside and outside of the company. And with this, I would like to hand over back to Chad.
Thank you, Bjorn. Pride at SAP continues to have new beginnings within our group. Felipe Rolla, tell us about the beginning of Pride at SAP in Brazil and your tremendous membership drive.
Hey, Chad, thank you. So the Pride SAP in Brazil was created in 2012 in SAP Labs Latin America. Later, we will extend it to other locations in Brazil, like São Paulo and Rio. I would say that in the very beginning, it was a real challenge not to just increase membership itself, but to start convincing people about the importance of the group here. In order to bring the topic, the LGBT topic, which was and still is a big taboo in Brazil, we started strategically talking about diversity and inclusion and how it was aligned with SAP's strategy, creating room for the discussion of the LGBT topic, and already with a good basis with diversity and inclusion and strategy. So we did that through this diversity and inclusion workshop that we created, and we presented to all the teams in SAP Labs Latin America. Also with that, we kind of promoted visual campaigns, trying to create safe zones for the LGBT people that were working within our company. And with that, foster the discussion about the topic. So that's about the visual campaigns, the distribution of rainbow flags, for instance, on the employees' desks. Together with that, I would say we tried a personal approach, and that was very effective, in fact. We invited people for coffee corner sessions where they would be able to ask any question they had without any judgment and learn a little bit about pride, LGBT topics, sexual diversity, and gender. And that was what brought, I would say, the first real allies and the core team members that we have until today. I would say that finally, I really believe that what made more impact and made more people connect with and create empathy with the topic was the strategy of showcasing personal stories of our allies and Pride SAP members. We use that to inspire employees with real good examples of people that pass through situations or even about prejudice, and how they overcame that and how they are able to have a good life and work well at SAP. We believe that storytelling is a very powerful tool, and it's easier for people to connect when they know the person from their day-to-day work. That all, I would say, was the foundation that made possible for us to have this good, I would say, engagement, and also have good external events, for instance, like the LGBT Summit, which we created in 2014. That is the biggest corporate LGBT event in South of Brazil. That is the first picture that you are seeing there. And also, this year, for instance, we had our managing director here in Brazil in SAP Labs in America to hoist the Pride flag together with SAP's and Brazil's flag in the Pride Month in front of our labs here, as you see in the second picture, and that was done for the first time globally at SAP. And I really and truly believe that will become one of our good practices at SAP. So all of that, the showcasing of the stories and visual campaigns and the workshop were the foundation to have this great engagement and membership that we have in Brazil. Thank you.
Thank you, Felipe. We've also seen great growth within the Philippines. Mickey Gamboa, share about your discovery of Pride at SAP, as well as the support you received to grow within APJ and what your plans are for the future.
Hi, Chad. So thank you for that. In relation to what Felipe said regarding the importance of storytelling, I might want to start as well with telling you a story how I started with Pride at SAP. So 2 years back when I started with SAP, I started about August 24 without any knowledge of how can I support the organization more or how I can belong in the organization more. 5 days later, I received this wonderful email that says, "Welcome to Pride at SAP" via email. So I said, wow, this is a great way to belong to the company and join this organization. My next question that I had at the back of my head, how did they know that I was gay? So that's the funny story of it. But long story, eventually I found out that it's actually a group message coming from one of our leaders, Nyarkos, who's in the call as well, that he sent out to all the people in the organization, and he got a lot of response from that. One of which is from me. I said, hey, this is a good way to promote diversity in the office. I'd like to support that. So it eventually asked me, are you from the Philippines? Would you like to support this in your region? So that's how I started my journey with our employee network group. As well as if people want to find out about Pride at SAP, we have what we call jam pages. It's like the internal Facebook of our company of SAP, and they have resources from different regions in different countries to know about each of the chapters. And similarly, I created that for the Philippines locally so that people who might want to know more about Pride at SAP can go there, can look for references, and it's also available globally. So that's how I started my journey with Pride. I also appreciate how I was supported initially by Nyarkos through guidance and one-on-one conversation, and as well as Miguel Castro, who was a great executive leader who was able to provide support. And then seeing the organization, as you saw in the initial slide, from the support of our CEO, saying that it's important to have diversity and as well as being yourself in the organization, it gives me the greatest pride to continue what I'm doing here in the Philippines specifically. With that momentum and with that specific support, I try to take that on and promote this within the local organization in the Philippines, doing roadshows or marketing roadshows with leaders, with the MDs, the managing director here, the marketing team, HR. So I gathered that support and momentum. I was able to join for the first time, I would say, a Pride March here in the Philippines. And it's the first time for SAP Southeast Asia to join such event. And during that event, we were able to represent the organization with 100 headcount in our first Pride March for Metro Manila Pride Parade. As well as we continued with organizing conferences. Specifically, if you can see in the pictures, we organized the LGBT Workplace Conference here in Manila, co-sponsored with another organization here. And we brought together a local and multinational organization to speak about the topic of D&I and LGBT inclusion in the workplace. Right? After that momentum, we also have our presence as well with our ANZ team. Similarly, they had a journey like that. They started about 2 years ago. Our lead there is Corey Wallace, who's doing an amazing job promoting D&I and as well as the Pride topic in the region. So he has done a lot of activities, for example, the Wear Purple Shirt Day, and as well as joining the Mardi Gras for New Zealand and ANZ to represent SAP. And for the activities that we've done so far in the region, we were able to represent the region in Out and Equal recently, representing APJ. So myself, Wallace, and then Shetna, who's from Singapore, we were able to join that conference and represent APJ and to know more as well, to understand what it is to be in a global stage and understand more about sharing best practice, and as well as understanding and getting information from other ERGs for that matter. So that's it from my end. Regarding probably launches, I'll talk more about that in the next slides that we have as well about upcoming chapters in APJ. Back to you, Chad.
Thank you. Mickey, don't go too far because within your work, you've had great success within incorporating allies. Tell us more about those programs you've done.
Oh, all right, awesome. So specifically in the region, in Southeast Asia and Asia, the sensitivity of the topic of LGBT in the workplace is sometimes not well embraced, as I would say. So in the region, we targeted several countries that we are hoping to have a launch of a local chapter. Specifically, what we've done so far is ally enablement and awareness workshop for Singapore and India. So that has already happened with the support of the local business there and as well as our Pride leads for India and Singapore. Additionally, on top of that, we are hoping for 2018 using scoping and as well as promoting the ally workshops that we're going to conduct eventually to have local chapters in Japan, in South Korea, and Thailand. So we're growing the network here in Southeast Asia and APJ, and hoping that these 3 countries will also be included in those existing chapters for Pride at SAP.
Perfect. Great work. Thank you. Thank you for that. Now, even within our more established geographies, we are seeing unique development within those. Rachel Ho, can you share what growth there has been within North America and SAP's involvement in key initiatives?
Absolutely. Thanks, Chad. So I have the privilege of speaking to 2 areas of Pride at SAP today, which covers North America. One interesting perspective of working at a global company such as SAP truly is its massive reach across borders. Pride at SAP USA in 2009 was just a localized group based out of Palo Alto, California. And driven by passionate leaders, this group bared the growing pains of the grassroots team that knew that they had the potential to take it to the next level. And they were really galvanized by SAP's rating of 100 points in the HRC Corporate Equality Index. And that really rejuvenated them and rallied around an anti-bullying campaign that I mentioned earlier that reached corporate global heights. And so we released a film, part of the It Gets Better campaign, after the son of an executive took his own life after suffering from homophobic bullying. So after that, in 2013, this chapter grew in North America. In 2014, we saw our first participation at Out and Equal. And with that momentum of receiving our first executive sponsor, growing the engagement in the USA, you would think that Canada would have had a bigger part at that point. But that didn't really start until 2016. And now we've seen incredible collaboration that really just transcends borders. And as lead of Pride SAP Canada, I had the privilege of working across regions, and specifically with localized chapters such as the Pacific Northwest chapter on the West Coast, with Chad down at the Concur office. So we can go to the next slide. So after hearing these incredible and inspiring initiatives internally at SAP within the U.S., the question really is, how could Pride at SAP Canada not have been formed since 2016? And this is an interesting point to note that may resonate with many of you who may come across from organizations that are global or localized, that already champion an inclusive culture, but ironically, because of that, don't really have any official resources in place that are for that very purpose. And so I joined SAP Canada in 2014 on the cusp of just coming out myself, and was very excited to partake in Pride activities. However, everyone I asked around the site in Vancouver just kind of looked at me and said, that's a great question. I'm not really sure why there isn't anything official in place. And after talking to more people, having more conversations, I came to realize it was just a strong sense of complacency in Vancouver and in Canada that because we passed equal marriage 14 years ago, because our offices had never really seen any discrimination, that Pride groups were not needed. But from my perspective, I felt that if one person feels a need for these resources to better bring their true self to work every day, then there must be others who felt the same. So in 2016, Pride at SAP Canada has grown from Vancouver to Toronto to Montreal, and we've garnered over 100 members and celebrated in 4 different Pride parades across the country. And as you can see there, Justin Trudeau is not an official member, but with that selfie, I would believe that's the case. But this all really just started from asking a question. And that's really my biggest advice to anyone I speak to about our origins of Pride at SAP Canada is just to always step up even when it feels like everyone else is looking the other way. Ask the question, because if there's someone out there sharing the same sentiments as you, there's probably more of that question needs to be talked about, more conversations to be had around it. So that's really kind of the foundation of how we started, which is really cool to see in the last year and a half. You can hop to the next slide, Chad, please. And that's just kind of to bring it back full circle here, back to Palo Alto in California. SAP, we're sponsoring this really awesome tech conference based in San Francisco called Lesbians Who Tech. And we wanted to kind of bring this to your attention just because many of your organizations kind of always have this challenge of bringing back the impact of diversity and inclusion back to your business. And it's sponsoring events like these that really put that to the forefront, to really put towards executives' eyes that D&I is not separate from business. In fact, it is key and integral to driving innovation in your organization. So I have some stats on the slide here, but really it's essentially 2,500 incredible people, queer, lesbians, allies, attend to discuss, share thoughts around technology, but also with an underlying really passionate environment of diversity and inclusion, and how that all brings together creative minds and how you drive innovation in this world together. So that is our participation last year. We're doing this again in March this year, and we're very excited. Back to you, Chad.
Excellent. Thank you, Rachel. Was there something else? I'm sorry. Okay.
No.
Thank you, Rachel. Okay, perfect. Bjorn, we're going to come back to you. Since Germany helped start it all for Pride at SAP, as the most established region with the most history, what is its current status?
Yeah, exactly, Jed. So the current status, so I want to maybe highlight some important events we had in 2017, some external events. Of course, we have also internal events, but here can show the external events. And the first thing is Unit 2017. This is a global LGBT tech and science conference, which was in Berlin. And you can see that we had some interesting and latest technology trends. For example, we had the blockchain demo there and the Microsoft HoloLens. So SAP in general presented latest technology trends, and we also had a hands-on workshop about IoT microcontroller programming, which was really well received by the audience. And since we are a tech company, we're also looking for the early and also perfect talents around the world. So we attended the Sticks and Stones career fair, and this is a career fair which is let's say, suited to LGBT people, but it's also open for all allies and friends. And together with the colleagues from SAP Campus Recruiting, we had a really good time because also Miguel joined us there, and he told us something, told the audience how we at SAP use technology to move the business beyond bias also for LGBT employees. If we go to the next slide, we can see that we are also active in other events. For example, to mention the Pride Parade. So in Berlin, we had again the Pride Parade in 2017, as you can see on the picture, and we had our own float. So this was the third year in a row that we had our own float, and it was really fun, even though the weather might be or was a little bit challenging in the end, but it was really cool to have a float together with your colleagues and the friends and to celebrate your pride on the Pride Parades. And on the right side, you can see a picture, and then on the left on the picture is Miguel, on the right is me, and we together attend the Proud at Work conference a few weeks ago. This conference, so the Proud at Work Foundation, I would compare to Out and Equal in the US, but Proud at Work is in Germany, and this is kind of to encourage the diversity and inclusion management for larger German companies. So maybe as you can see in the picture, we have some German companies like SAP, but we also have international companies like IBM who are part of this foundation. And SAP, with Pride at SAP, is a founding member since 2014, and it was really nice to get together with all the colleagues from the other companies. This is just a short overview of our activities in Germany for this year, and at the moment we are starting to planning, of course, activities for next year as well. Back to you, Chad.
Thank you, Bjorn. I'm going to introduce a new voice who hasn't spoken yet, Natalia Rodriguez. The transgender community is one of the most vulnerable. You saw social resistance for this community in Colombia. Tell us about the experience and how SAP is supporting transgender people there.
Hi, Chad. Thank you. Yes, well, let me share some information about the transgender community here in Colombia. I am not feel proud about that, but I feel proud about the things that we are doing here in SAP around that. So some of the key aspects that we have is the life expectancy is under 30 years. There's a lot of young people that is murdered in Colombia because it's just a transgender people. The level of higher education is very, very reduced. It's only around the 60%. It's not unofficial data, but it's very restrictive access to them. And the most impressive information is about the murder in the year. So during this year, the information that we have registered is 36 transgender women have been murdered. So it's more than 3 women per month. That is very sad, and it's something that really caught our attention. So what we decide here in SAP in Colombia, because we understand that we need to promote the diversity and inclusion inside the workspace and also outside with our colleagues, and trying to create an impact, to real impact. So we create a translaborando. Translaborando, I will spell the words and try to translate. Trans is, of course, about the transgender. Laborando is a form verb that is laborar. It's from the Latin laborare, that it means work. So the idea is trying to have the transgender community working and be part of our workspaces and trying to create a better options for them. Please, next slide. Okay. So what we did here was we have 2 phases. The first one was a focus group with the support of Colombia Diversa and the Fundación GAT, is an organization. And we decide with them, with around 5 transgender people, key aspects of key topics that maybe can be useful for the transgender community here in Colombia. And we decide this curricula for the day around personal branding, about the vocational orientation, about the art of selling, and a lot of entrepreneur, because one of the things that we have discovered here is that the possibilities to access to the workplace here in Colombia is very limited. So the idea is that bring them different tools to create their own businesses and to support between them to have economic progress. So in the picture you will see the group of the Fundación GAT, that is the group that we have been working on, and our SAP employees, the Pride SAP members, and some volunteers that was in charge of deliver the contents around the curricula that we follow during the day. It's important to mention that this initiative was in the part of the month of service. That is a very nice initiative that we have every single year here in SAP in the month of October, and it's a really nice space because it's the possibility to share with people some of the plans that we have to make a difference. So that was very nice. And the most important that is that we really involve different areas inside SAP. We involve the sales group, the human resources, marketing, communications, operations. Well, there's a lot of people working and supporting the initiative. That was very, very nice. Please, next slide. And well, also here in Colombia, we have been running other activities. And we started with the employee network a year ago, so that was our first year. We have been working around internal awareness about the employee network. We launched the Pride Connection Colombia. That is a very nice initiative that started in Mexico and has been replicated in different countries in Latin America, and Colombia is part of that, as we are part of the founders in that, so it's very nice. That is the picture that you see in the top of the square. And also we have, for the very first time, our participation in the Pride Parade here in Bogota. That is the yellow group that you see. So there's I know there's a short term that we have been working in this initiative, but I think we have achieved great milestones inside and outside, and that make us feel very proud. And also keep in mind that we are pioneer in my country, in Colombia. We have been facing several years an internal conflict, and we are talking about peace, and it's a must, and we need to contribute to build a real peace based on respect and tolerance. So that's important for us, these initiatives. And just to close this topic, we also have a Diversity and Inclusion Summit the next week here in Colombia too. It's our second event here in Bogota, and also we will launch a Latin Code contest, and the idea is try to create applications to support some of the conditions about that, for example, situation for vulnerability in transgender, and also all the LGBT, and the ideas that the group of the corporate social responsibility support us and work with the different young people that code the application and to launch to the community. So that's the idea. I think it's it. Thank you.
Perfect. Great work. Thank you so much for what you're doing. There are a lot of moving parts within Pride at SAP, and there are moving parts that are all around the globe. I want to introduce Niarchos Pombo and then bring in Miguel Castro again. Tell us about the support around and the communication within Pride at SAP to get this work done, as well as the integration with SAP in future initiatives and goals.
Super. Thanks, Chad, for the question. So I'm Niarchos. I'm the global lead of Pride at SAP, and I wanted to share a little bit how was our structure before and what we are doing now. So in the beginning, we had one global lead, that was me. A couple of years ago, we started a chapter in Germany, then we did the chapter in the US and other countries, and then after some time, I took the lead globally for Pride at SAP. And we continue with the same model that we had in the past, that was one global lead, working directly with each one of the local chapters that we had around the globe. And at the time when I took this role of global Pride at SAP leader, we had a couple of chapters, and then we started growing a lot, which is a great thing for us. But the complexity was becoming bigger, so we needed to change something in order to keep the wheel spinning. So what we did was to put a layer with regional leads for Pride at SAP. So now this is what you're able to see in the screen. We have regional leads for the US, for Latin America and the Caribbean, for India, Canada, APJ, EMEA, Germany. And I work as a global lead with each one of the regions, and then the regions, they are responsible to work with the local chapters. So this is the way that we did in order to decrease a little bit the complexity. And also we are able now to work with a great executive sponsor, which is Jenny Dearborn, and she works globally to support us to achieve all the goals that we have for Pride at SAP. Also, we collaborate a lot with the Global Diversity and Inclusion Office, and the person responsible for the LGBT topic is Miguel Castro, he's here in the call with us. And we also align regularly with him in order to ensure that we are following what SAP believes that is the direction that we should follow from a corporate perspective. So I think that this is a very good setup for us, decreases a lot of the complexity. And now the local chapters, they have all the assistance that they need in order to move forward with the goals that they have.
We go to the next slide, please. Thank you very much. So here I wanted to highlight a bit more when it comes to our cooperation with external organizations and the type of projects that we drive. It's SAP, we became one of the early supporters of the UN Standards of Conduct for Business on tackling discrimination against the LGBTI people. This is something I consider very important, not only because of the work that the UN is doing in this area is fantastic. We were one of the first 15 companies that decided to join and support. It's also because the type of guidance that the UN provides in here, it's really good to answer many of the questions that we've seen in the chat already, which is how is it that you can take into consideration the different cultural aspects of the countries worldwide, and not only the culture and the acceptance of the LGBT community, but also the component of the legislation on that one. So the UN is quite good at the guidance that they're providing here, and we're working already on many of the areas, and this is providing us guidance also on the next steps to take. If we look, for example, at the first one, which is respect human rights, any company that is participating in the Human Rights Campaign Corporate Equality Index, they have one of the clear requirements in there. They need to prevent protect their LGBT employees all over the world, regardless of the local legislation where they have. The UN in here comes with recommendations about how to even go further with that one. In here in SAP, for example, we include the LGBT community as the protected areas in our human rights commitment statement. When it comes to eliminating discrimination, and we can put it together already with the supporting LGBTI staff, because many of these things in here are very much interlinked, is the area in which it goes like understand who the LGBT community is and make sure that in the processes that you have in the company there's no discrimination relating to them. So for example, when we launched and created already several years ago, 10 years ago in fact, the gender transition guidelines, this is also a way in which we eliminate discrimination and we include the transgender community within the company. We launched it in Germany when we had the first cases, but we've been supporting the transgender community all over the world. So we, with cases of gender transition as employees of ours in Germany, US, Brazil, and Canada. Looking at the discrimination component as well and supporting the staff, it's when it comes to the benefits that we provide for the community, thinking not only about same-sex partnerships, we can also look at the component about what type of transgender inclusive benefits do we provide, and we've been highlighted because the level of coverage that we do for the trans community in the US. Recently, a couple of weeks ago, we launched as well the same-sex partner benefits for our colleagues in India. So this is something we consider really cool. We've been talking a lot about, or a bit, when it comes to the training and education efforts that we have. This is something that I'm very, very proud of because it supports the LGBT community worldwide. Our diversity and inclusion focus on Insight program has got a dedicated module for the LGBT community. This is something that is accessible to everybody worldwide, regardless of where they are, and we also have offices in Middle Eastern countries, in Africa, and some Asian countries in which it's illegal to have same-sex relationships. What we explain in there is not only about the business case, it's not only about the legal situation that we would see all over the world and the policies that we have in SAP. Okay? In this area, we also give examples about where are the typical cases that you could find for the LGBT community depending on where you are worldwide. So the example that we give of a colleague in Germany, it's a fictional character, but it's a lesbian woman who's having a conversation with another woman asking her, do you think it's good for your career that you're out? Well, the colleague that we represent in India, it's a colleague who's not able to come out because of the social pressure that it's out there, but we want to bring the awareness to everybody that even if you might not know anybody who's LGBT, so that you know you are going to have several colleagues who they are. So be careful about the type of things that you say, because in SAP we do value the LGBT community. You know, these type of activities have driven us to have situations like with Miki presented earlier today, the I'm an Ally event in which we invite everybody to come enjoy in countries like India and Singapore. There's areas in here in which they ask you to, the UN asks you to focus on the marketplace, how you operate in there, and then standing up for human rights. If we could please move to the next slide, I can give a better overview on the latter. So in here you see the large amount of cooperations that we have with NGOs and different organizations all over the world. Okay, I try to give you an idea here, together with the many activities that we drive and the videos that we use in order to present ourselves as an inclusive employer for the LGBT community. The examples that we're showcasing here, it's a colleague from the US, a colleague from Australia, and a colleague from Brazil. Okay, in this video is about business beyond bias. If we stay in that slide, please, just 1 second. I wanted to highlight the HRC as one of the organizations that we work with, because we are taking very seriously also the social advocacy in terms of the number of pledges that we join. So, for example, the Equality is Our Business pledge, the coalition, the Equality Coalition, also from the HRC, in order to make sure that there's no step backward when it comes to legislation against the LGBT community, is something that we're very proud of having taken those steps, together with having supported the Australian Marriage Equality Initiative, among many other initiatives all over the world. I'm mentioning Australia because this week they are celebrating that the postal vote that they had, it has shown support for the LGBT community, so in order to have same-sex marriage. If we go to the next slide now, please. This is the area in which we focus already when it comes to our customers, So in our products in SAP, in the SuccessFactors products, we're putting a very strong focus on what we call business beyond bias, ensuring that our customers are also able to identify bias and even detect it and prevent it before it happens. So when it comes to using the functionality that we have in SuccessFactors, we even highlight in the materials, in the ebooks, and so that we produce how they can be used for the LGBT community. So, for example, when it comes to who applies, we use machine learning technology in order to analyze if the job application would have any gender bias. So making it gender neutral is also positive and inclusive for the LGBT community. When it talks about who lives and when, we encourage companies in order to create networking groups like ENGs and use the social collaboration platforms like SAP Jam to keep them together. When it comes to who is developed, for example, we talk about how easy that we develop functionality through algorithms in order to have the mentor and mentee assignment based on skills and career interest, ignoring other things like, for example, gender, sexual orientation, and race and ethnicity, in order to ensure a fair matching where a bias about what is talent, would not be taking place. Over to you now, Niarchos, again.
Super. Thank you, Miguel. Talking a little bit about the goals that we have for Global Pride at SAP. I'm going to share with you some of the activities that we do as an examples of each one of the goals. One of the goals that we have is how can we foster an inclusive workplace in SAP for the LGBT community. So some things that we do is to celebrate the Pride Month. So depending on the locations, we have flags, T-shirts. We have talks about LGBT for the employees. We work a lot with internal communications teams, and we always try to empower the LGBT community and provide education to the employees so that they are aware of what is happening with Pride at SAP and with LGBT diversity. We're also working on a global Ally program that we will be launching next year, tentatively. And we also support all the LGBT indexes that we think that we should support locally for LGBT or for D&I, such as HRC, which Miguel was mentioning about, and other ones like Iguales, for example, in Colombia, and others around the globe. Regarding career development, which is the second goal that we have, we are always trying to develop the LGBT talent that we have in our company, and some example of that is that we send a couple of people around the globe for Out on Equal Workplace Summit to participate, to attend, and to learn about the best practices about LGBT inclusion. We also supported RAM in SAP about that, participating of conferences, development sessions for the LGBT leaders around the globe, always in partnership with the GDIO, the Global Diversity Office for SAP. And we like also to showcase the stories that we have internally. So some weeks ago, Felipe Roloff was part of the Financial Times as a Global Future LGBT Leader in the list, and Jenny Dearborn was also featured as an Ally Executive. So we always showcase these stories internally and show what we are doing to the other employees to feel inspired and feel that they also can achieve what the others have achieved. Next slide, please. So following the goals, if we see the third goal, which is networking and work-life integration, we participate of some local organizations where we are able to network, such as Proud at Work and Pride Connection in different locations in Latin America. And the goal here is to share the best practices and get the best practices from the market because we believe that this is very important. And we also work with regarding the local environment. We try always to create awareness on what are the local regulations and what are the policies that we have in SAP. So something very special for us is focus on insight, as Miguel was saying, because we have a specific model on LGBT, and the local chapters we foster this type of learning program so that the employees can enroll and they can learn more about diversity and inclusion and LGBT specifically for this model. Regarding the next goal, involvement with the business, we support career fairs. We do diversity summits, trying to acquire talent from the market. We supported other events as reaching out, always to try to attract the best LGBT talent from the market, which is something that we try to support as part of our goals, and also support our sales organization whenever they have some activity that is connected to LGBT diversity. We have some examples of people from Pride SAP supporting the sales colleague as speakers from conferences or talking to customers about LGBT diversity for the specific location. And the last goal that we have is a community outreach. So we partner with other organizations like these local groups that we have in each one of the locations where we are present that we think that we should be supporting. The Pride Parade is something that we were able to increase a lot of participation. So we participated in North America, in Germany, Latin America, in a lot of them. And we always try to support NGO whenever it's possible. And some examples of that is what Natalia was mentioning, for example, in Translaborando, where we were supporting an NGO regarding transgender people. So these one were the 5 goals that we have at SAP regarding LGBT in Pride at SAP. And these were the examples that I think that would be more easy to understand, mentioning each one of the activities, because this is our daily, what we do daily in SAP to support LGBT inclusion. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. As we're looking to wrap up, we're not only focusing on the corporate initiatives, but Pride at SAP has taken strong steps toward leadership development. Matthew Donovan and William Castro, can the two of you share 2 major initiatives Pride at SAP is leaning into?
Yep, so this is Matthew Donovan. One of the major initiatives that we've really started to lean into is the Out and Equal Workplace Summit that occurs every year. So the first year that we were involved in that was back in 2014. This was the first one that I personally attended as well. So this was in San Francisco, and we had 5 attendees from across the U.S. go. Now, we followed up that present in Dallas in 2015 with 5 other attendees from across the organization, and I led our present. And from that, we actually had our first participant on a panel talking about being transgender in the workplace. Now, we got a lot of traction around our activities in Dallas, and from that, we were actually able to lean on some executive support in 2016. So at the time, Jennifer Morgan, who was our president in North America, actually funded a broader participation in that event. And that was kind of the start where we started to expand our investment in the Workplace Summit. Now for that event, we were able to start to bring people in from across the globe to expand the impact that we were driving and to make sure that our Pride practices were not just focused on just our U.S. activities. And that kind of all came together this year in Philadelphia. So this year, with our global funding and our support, we are able to bring people from across the globe. So we had 23 attendees at the Workplace Summit. So this was by far our largest investment to date in our employees. Now we had people from Colombia, Mexico, Canada, US, Singapore, Brazil. I mean, we truly had every continent represented as part of these activities. And we were able to take this one step further. So we were able to actually bring together all these employees, and when we had them all in the same place, we were able to invest in those employees and their success in our organization. So we were able to follow up the Workplace Summit the Friday after with an internal leadership development day. So not only are we determining best practices and participating in sessions, but we're also making sure that we're making those investments in our ERG and Pride leaders that are doing their Pride roles in addition to their day jobs. So this is a really great investment for us, and we're excited to see moving forwards how we can continue to expand the collaboration between the Workplace Summit and how we can actually develop our LGBT talent.
This is William. So in addition to the global engagement, we also focus on the LGBT leadership, and that was also one of the reasons why we have sponsored the RAM Global LGBT Leadership Contest that happened this year for the first time in Berlin. We had 3 SAP representatives in the jury and 4 employees participating in the contest. That was composed out of 3 group challenges. We had feedback sessions and leadership roundtables. We also had the opportunity to network with Aerosys, so the company that developed Gay Romeo and King, maybe you know Candy Crush. And in addition to that, not only we participated in the event, but we really created a network that is still alive, and we have actually met another 100 professionals that we continue to work with together, and we get the inspiration and move further with them. So this was another very important event that marked the Pride at SAP globally.
Perfect, thank you. Now to wrap up the formal presentation here, the important elements to take away that we have learned throughout our work is a big piece that has made this successful is the grassroots initiatives within the different geographies. We are volunteers within this. All of the geographic leads, this is on top of our day jobs, but it's because it's something that is a passion for all of us as we're moving forward. SAP's focus on leadership development and the technology usage has also been a key element and a key theme moving forward for our organizations. It's a global initiative that we're working toward with local implementation. So every item that we're working on is a piece of a greater whole. And within that whole, it's our steps that are coming together to be able to hit those global initiatives and global goals. And then we've developed strong partnerships to be able to focus with selected NGOs, and that partnership that we've developed throughout has really taken a strong stance within our success and helped provide, even from a local standpoint and a global standpoint, some great ways to be able to drive forward within our goals as we do. With that, we will provide the slides, and in the slides they do have an appendix that provides more details that you can dig into more specific programs throughout. There are a few questions that have come over to the chat, so we'll take a few minutes here to be able to do that. There was a question about diversity supply chains with SAP. Miguel, could you quickly review with diversity within supply chains and how SAP is looking at that?
Sure, happy to. This is actually a question which is in different areas. So first of all, what we have about supplier diversity, it's from on site. We expect our suppliers not to discriminate on their own workforce based on the same requirements that we have for our own employees. So sexual orientation, gender identity, and many of the others are covered in that area. In Brazil, we actually acted on that one a couple of months ago when one of the radio stations that we are customers of on a marketing contract, one of the journalists made a racist and homophobic comment about a football player, and that was the reason for SAP Brazil marketing to actually cancel that one. Okay, so and explain that it was based on the reasons because then those comments were against our type of policies. When it comes to how easy to actually drive supplier diversity and support the LGBT community and the LGBT-owned suppliers, while we are looking at the way that we implement it ourselves in SAP, because we are focusing right now when it comes to gender and race and ethnicity and moving into the LGBT component now. We have already partnered with Consus, which is an organization that focuses exactly on that one, supplier diversity, so that our SAP Ariba customers can easily identify in the supply chain the minority-owned businesses that they partner with, be it women-owned, LGBT-owned, underrepresented minorities-owned, and so on. So we are building on that partnership, so it's not only about using it ourselves, but so that our customers can actually benefit from that one too.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm actually going to jump in, Chad, if I may.
Yeah.
Sorry for that. Thank you so much. I just noticed we're wrapping up on time. We're coming up on 11, and I know folks have meetings to go to. We got such great questions for all of you, and as I was chatting out to folks, we will follow up with answers to those questions. Thank you all so much again for participating on this call and for sharing your resources with us. And for everyone that's listening, you will get an email with the slide deck, the video recording link, and we will follow up with answers to those questions, as I said. So thank you all so much.
Perfect. Thank you.